The festival season is upon us, but there are no festivals happening. Unless you're still enjoying being in front of your computer and the latest live stream, something the pandemic just can't touch. Joining Viva Talks today are Melissa Perales from Torstraßen Festival in Berlin and Neal Thompson from Focus Wales in Wrexham, UK. Melissa co-founded Torstraßen Festival, an event that puts up over 30 shows in the Berlin Mitte district. They just celebrated the 10th anniversary, although in an unexpected format. For the first time ever, the festival was streamed from 2 different venues in Berlin. Apart from the festival, Melissa also booked shows in the city, and we've had the pleasure of sending artists her way and to the venue, Chocoladen. Neal Thompson from Focus Wales was also ready to celebrate 10 years as a festival this year, but it came out a bit different. Instead of having 200 bands on 20 stages in Wrexham, they moved from early May to October, and then from October this year to October next year. Being a partner to Westside Music Sweden for 2 years, we were looking forward having Bottle Cap, Virginia the Flood and Baby Missiles to the event. So what's happening right now, and how do they see the future for festivals? Viva Talks is produced by Westside Music Sweden. This episode is moderated by Gustav Paulsson. I'm Matthias Tell, and now let's hear about the process.
How did it all work? When did this idea of the digital festival come up?
Well, I guess the thought process for us was, because our event is very much about like nurturing kind of like an industry, at home, so like, kind of like the grassroots, like Welsh artists, like the new stuff that's coming through. That's what we're really there to support, and everything's kind of built around that. And so that was the core, that's the thing that we're trying to. We wanted to maintain that kind of like that. We didn't want to stop doing that work. So, yeah, well, I think it was it felt like once we'd kind of like protected our own, the event as well as we could, then it left us with time and an opportunity to say, well, if we're okay, then we need to see if we can help everybody who maybe isn't okay, and how are we going to do that? So, and we thought, well, you've got to use the medium that's available to you. So in the very immediate, like the first sort of phase of our online stuff is very much about supporting artists and getting them access to all of the help that's available out there, and making sure that we're still, networking artists with the right industry people, and that everybody feels like there's a community and there's like some kind of, real life support network that's going to help people carry on.
Absolutely. Okay, great. And for you guys, Melissa, with Torstraßen?
We were just getting ready to go into the phase of production when the whole COVID-19 hit. So we, of course, were kind of put on hold to think on what we're going to do. We also considered moving the festival to another date in the fall. But we realized quite quickly that it didn't look like it was going to be possible. And so we really, because we're also sponsored by, funded for the city. So this money that is funded to us is only for the year. So if we don't use it, we have to give it back. And we decided that we would rather help the musicians and make some sort of change and format to it to be able to allow them to be paid, and for any other people that were working so far on the project to get some funding out of some of the money out of the funding, rather than just give it back and wait till next year to do something. So we decided to go ahead with the stream, which then we could pay the artists who were on the stream. There was 10 of them. We could pay them their fees. And for all the rest of the artists that were not able to go on this stream, we were able to pay 60% of their wage, which are their money that we had made a deal with them.
If you compare the real deal, the real festival, which is not happening, and compare it with the digital one, what kind of pros and cons do you see? If we start with you, Neal, like, is there on the upside, maybe, you might have a chance to reach a bigger audience since it's online, but on the downside, it might be way harder to sell tickets, for example. How do you see it? And how do you work to make it as good as possible?
So in around the dates we would have done in October, we're now doing like kind of like quite an interesting collaboration with some other festivals in Wales, which we would never have done before, actually. So that, sorry, yeah, this is actually a good point.
Positive, yeah.
Yeah. So which is great, and that's brought all of us together, which is actually quite a cool thing. And now, you know, that the idea is that we're going to present kind of like an event together, but kind of made for broadcast. You know, whether that be TV or just us streaming it ourselves or whatever. You know, but to produce like more of a TV type of show this year as an experiment. But it would reflect all of our events and kind of reflect what's going on in Wales now. But that's kind of in motion right now. But you know, we're feeling it's looking quite positive, and it's something that we'd like to do, you know, alongside the main event as well. Like when we're all back doing live stuff.
And Melissa, do you see is there anything, I know it was your 10th year, obviously the whole thing is, it's a big shame to say the least, but can you see anything positive in doing it online?
Yeah, I mean, aside from, as you mentioned, having possibly more reach, like with what we did with the with Arta, they have a much bigger reach than we. I mean, we're a local festival. We have a capacity of 1,500 people. This is all. We've never tried to grow over that. We have small venues from 30 people to 250. So we have really varied spaces, and we try to keep it always that we can fit that many people. So our goal was not to be to grow like that, but really it is for the artists. I think it's great if people from have seen it now, and a lot of people have looked at, I don't know the numbers today, but like at the festival online. So it does, I think, maybe bring something if even like a couple people like become fans of them or get interested in them from other festivals, that say, hey, I would like to book that band myself, whatever, like I think that this could be a positive aspect out of it. But it's something that we have to learn how to do. I think we take what we have and we try to continue with visibility for the artists, continue with our own ideas and projects, and try to do as much as we can to keep the industry moving and not let it just shut down and say, okay, we're taking time off until further notice.
Do you guys think, like, if we move into the future, is not necessarily festivals, but concerts, at least single concerts and such, is that a digital concert or a festival? Is that something that will stick around, do you think? Is it something that will, of course, not replace the real festival, but as a complement to the festival? Is it a good thing, and is it something to develop?
From my point of view, yes, I think, and I don't know if Melissa would agree, like what that I should say this time has given us as well is an opportunity, rather than to develop reactions and responses to like the immediate kind of crisis. It's like what we've tried to do is approach it as, well, if we're going to develop something new, why don't we develop something that we're going to be able to do anyway, even when we can do live stuff again. We want to develop something that's got legs, that's going to exist alongside the event. And of course, the advantages are like, well, like the reach, isn't it? Just like you're saying, like this conversation would normally happen in a bar in Gothenburg maybe, and it depends if you're physically there, but then there's no limit to who can join this conversation now, right? It's just, except for like, depending on what brutal time of day it is in certain parts of the world, but it does open it up, doesn't it? That interaction and the kind of the acceptance of this medium of kind of discussion and everything as being quite normal now, which I think is very good. And then the other side of it, like one of the new things that we would do around our conference, for example, is like have one-to-one like kind of engagement, like sessions with international delegates for our artists. This is like a little, just something off the top of my head that I thought of, that reminded me. But like we'd want to do that now before we go on export missions or before we bring international delegates in. We'd probably do those online sessions before, so we do all the ice breaking before the actual conference, and then the bands and the delegates kind of get to know each other, and they already have a relationship. So when they land, we don't have to spend a day of everybody trying to get to know each other and and doing the approaches and speed meetings and things. We can just kind of get straight into it. So hopefully that'll be a good outcome. And then there's also, it depends what kind of event you are and where it works, but now the kind of enforced exploration of like TV or how you might present events in a kind of a producing it for television kind of way, even if you're just going to stream it or do it yourself, but kind of looking more into that kind of higher production value type of streaming of shows.
And Melissa, is next year the 11th edition of the Torstraßen. Could there be a digital side thing next summer as well, or?
I mean, also for us, it always depends on funding, of course. Normally our funding is just enough to produce the festival and to give the artists, and most of it goes to artists' fees and production. If it's possible, definitely. I would say either if it's something beforehand that we kind of use as a kind of a build up to the festival, or some specific concerts being filmed and working with corporate partners. I do believe that I don't think that we can go backwards now. I mean, I think there is these aspects which we are having to now assimilate to and learn which technology to work with and start with, even if it's from a low budget to whatever way. I think we can't we can't go backwards now. I just think it's part of now everything that things have been moving towards anyway. I mean, as far as how artists are getting themselves out there has been anyway, even more than streams, often videos, and people are there visually ready to take content in. Of course, this is in preparation for hopefully a live component, something that goes together with that usually. And especially I think for this kind of stuff, for conference style things, which I do a lot of too and involved with as far as the discourse side of music, I think it's absolutely fantastic because of course, the cost of putting that together and having people from all over the world is such a great thing about conferences, music conferences, is that you get opportunity to hear perspectives which you normally do not inside of your own music bubbles. So I think this aspect is great, and I think that we will all benefit from that, to understand each other, to become more human in general inside the music business.
So there you have it. The digital festival might be here to stay, but it seems we all hope for the live music festival to be back in town soon. Keep an eye out for the next Viva Talks coming up, and if you follow Westside Music Sweden on our social platforms, you won't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.